How to write a PHP for loop. In my PHP editor, I have the foundation of a for loop already constructed here. Let's talk about the syntax that we need in order to work with a simple for loop. There's three parts to the syntax that make the loop run. There's the first part, which determines where the loop starts. There's the second part, which determines how long the loop runs. And there's the third part, which determines by what value it increments with every iteration. So in this example, the for loop starts at 1. The for loop runs until it's equal to 10, and it increments by 1 every time. Let's go ahead and look at our page output and see what happens. Well, not surprisingly, there is no output to the page, and the reason for that is because inside of our for loop, we actually don't have any code. All we have is the foundation of the loop. So in this situation, the page runs and the loop runs 10 times. It's just that every time it runs, it doesn't do anything. Let's use the very simple echo statement, which is the easiest way to illustrate how the loop runs. So I'm going to type echo, and I'm going to type test. Save our work, we'll go back here, and as you can see, it wrote the word test 10 times. Now that's not really the cleanest looking output, so let's type another line below here. We'll type echo, and we'll type the HTML line break tag. Go back to our page, refresh. This is a little bit easier to read because you can see it creates a line break after each iteration, and we can really see that it ran 10 times. Now, a better illustration would be to show the value of the variable counter as our loop progresses. In this case, it just wrote the word test every time. It's not very interesting. So what we're going to do is get rid of this string that we're putting out to the screen, and instead put actually the value of counter to the screen. And we refresh the page, and as you can see, our loop does actually run 10 times, and each time it increments 1. We could further give an example of how these parameters work by saying, in this case, the loop starts at 5, and then when we refresh the screen, you'll see the loop actually only runs 5 times because it starts at 5, but it stops at 10, so there's only 5 iterations. If we set this back to 1, and we set it runs until 100, then as you can see here, the loop actually ran 100 times. And if we go back and change the iteration or the increment value and change it to 2, that means it will start at 1, it will run to 100, and it will increment 2 every time. So in this case, all you get are a bunch of odd numbers on the screen because it's starting at 1, skipping a number, next number, skipping a number. So in this case, we've got 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. The bottom line is it's running from 1 to 100 and incrementing by 2 every time. So we can finally we can just go back and put our original values in here and save our work and refresh the screen. And as you can see, we've got our original test, which was a for loop that starts at 1, runs 10 times, and increments by 1 every time. So that is how you write a PHP for loop.